City Council reserves the right to go into executive session in accordance with Section 84-1410. Item A, call to order. Pursuant to Section 84-14128 of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, a current copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the entry of this meeting room and is available for viewing by the public. Item number 2, roll call.
Doug Brown,
Here.
Rick Carmichael,
Here.
Roger Bailey,
Present.
Tim Polson,
Here.
Bill Rogge,
Here.
Ed Friesen,
Present.
Brad Kazelka,
Here.
Kelly Davis.
Here.
Item B, submittal requests for future items. Individuals who have appropriate items for city council consideration should complete the request for future agenda items form located near the entrance of the meeting room. If the issue can be handled administratively without council action, notification will be provided. If the item is scheduled for a committee or council meeting, notice of the date will be given. Item C, consent agenda. Item number 1, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 19, 2013. Item number 2, approval of the claims.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. And moved and seconded, we approve the consent agenda. Please cast your vote. Olson, Bailey, Carmichael, Brown, Rogge, Friesen, Kazelka, Davis, all voting yes. Motion carried. Item D, public hearing. Number 1, public hearing concerning the application to the Department of Economic Development for the 2013 Community Development Block Grant for the Fairbury Levy Certification Phase 1, Planning Grant in the amount of $30,000. I declare this public hearing open.
This is what we discussed at the previous meeting. It's an application for a grant to review our levy. Have questions?
Based on, have we had anything, or we have had an inspection at this point, or have we not?
No, we have not. This would be to review our levy, to have an engineer review our levy to determine whether or not it meets the elevated requirements for FEMA.
That is our first step.
Yes. Does not necessarily mean we need to go through with this. This is just getting our foot in the door. In case we do need to proceed, then we'll have a little bit of leverage with DED.
We're required to do this by somebody?
FEMA. FEMA has required us to meet elevated standards for our levy, but they're not going to tell us whether or not we meet those standards. And only an engineer can do a hydrology study to determine that, so therefore the city gets to pay for that if we want to be certified.
They've got these magical numbers somewhere that we can't see.
No, they don't have any numbers. What they do is they say, your levy has to meet these elevated standards. Now you go determine whether or not those numbers meet the elevated standards. For instance, freeboard would be one. Freeboard is moved up about 3 feet. We believe that we have built our levy to sustain that elevation, but we cannot determine that without an engineer reviewing it.
Okay, so they do know exactly what they want out of our levy.
They know what standards we have to meet.
Okay.
And then we have to determine whether or not we can meet the, well, an
The
engineer has to
does.
certify it. I can go out and look at it and tell you and survey it, but an engineer's gonna sign off on it.
Did you take your Chevy?
Any other questions? Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I declare the hearing closed. Item number 2, set a public hearing for the purpose of hearing testimony concerning the adoption of a new zoning and subdivision regulation, and we need to set that for April 16th.
Motion to set that meeting for April 16th.
Second. Been moved and seconded, we set the hearing for the zoning regulations as April 16th. Please cast your vote. Paulson, Bailey, Carmichael, Brown, Rogge, Friesen, Kazelka, Davis, all voting yes, motion carried. Item E, current business. Item number 1, hearing for a nuisance declaration appeal for a property owned by Kathleen Seaman, located at 2000 West 3rd Street, legally described as Lot 6, Riverside Addition, City of Fairbury, Jackson County, Nebraska.
Joseph Parker, City Administrator. I'd like to read something into the record here. This is a letter from Kathleen Famront protesting the nuisance order I had issued to her on a house she owns. It says, to whom this concerns, I wish to appeal and strongly protest the decision made against my property at 200 West 3rd Street, Fairbury, Nebraska, as stated on papers given me on March 12, 2013, Tuesday. Signed Kathleen Famront. I had a brief discussion with her on the phone after she got my notice, and she was protesting it to me on the phone, and I told her how to do it properly before council, and she followed through right away, gave us this letter, and here we are to talk about it. In your packets, I have pictures of the house that we're talking about, and what I've asked Catherine to do is to tear that house down. The reason being, it's in a highly dilapidated condition at this point. There was a fire that occurred there. It burnt through the roof partially. It burnt a lot of the walls on the inside of the building and did other structural damage. And I'm a little fearful that we've got a real dangerous situation on our hands by leaving this house intact and not getting rid of it. So I'm asking that you uphold the city's order and we do remove that house. I also have in front of me the notice that went to the newspaper announcing the public hearing on this matter. I have the nuisance abatement notification that I had written to her on March 12th, which basically says a nuisance does exist on this property, and here's why. Under number 8 of the articles of our nuisances, it states, any unsightly building, billboard, or other structure, or any old, abandoned, or partially destroyed building or structure, or any building or structure commenced and left unfinished, which buildings, billboards, and other structures are either a fire hazard or a nuisance to public health or safety, or are so unsightly as to depreciate the value of property in the vicinity thereof. I think this meets a lot of that criteria. Also on the nuisance order is the portion which says you have 5 days to give us notice, to give the city notice that you'd like to have a hearing. That was done. I have the ticket signed by the officer that served her the papers on this matter. And I have another section here of state code that I wanted to read. It's 110.1 under demolition. This is under the International Property Maintenance Code. States that if the code official, meaning me, has determined in his judgment that a structure is so old, dilapidated, or becomes so out of repair as to be dangerous, unsafe, insanitary, or otherwise unfit for human habitation or occupancy, and such that it is unreasonable to repair the structure, then the official may order the building demolished. I have not done that yet. All I've asked for is, I've asked her to demolish it, but we have not said that we're going to demolish it at this point. So that pretty much lays out the city's case. I think we have a building that's in terrible condition, and it just needs to be removed.
Joe, just for the record, we have 4 exhibits that we've marked A through E. And I want to go through these just for the record so we have these identified. Exhibit A is entitled City of Fairbury Nuisance Abatement Notification. There's a copy of these at the podium as well. Do you see that, Joe?
Yes,
And is this the same notice of nuisance abatement that you sent to Ms. Thamer?
yes, it's the same one that she was sent for and signed for.
Okay. Do you recognize Chad Sprunk's signature?
Yes, I do.
Who is Chad Sprunk?
He's the chief of police.
And in the last page of Exhibit A, is that Chad Sprunk's signature that this was served on Ms. Thamer?
Yes,
Okay. Exhibit B then, piece of paper marked Exhibit B. You have that as part of your packet as well. It has a date on the bottom, March 18th, 2013. Do you recognize Exhibit B?
yes.
What is it?
This is the letter from Ms. Cyber
Letter requesting what?
requesting to appeal the nuisance.
Okay. The next document is Exhibit C, a series of 3 photographs. Do you recognize these photographs?
These are the pictures of the house that we're talking about tonight.
When were these photographs taken?
I don't know if there's a date on there. I don't see one.
Did you take these photographs?
I think Laura did.
Laura being,
Laura Bedlin.
who is,
She's the assistant street superintendent and she helps out with nuisance abatements.
okay. And do you know when Laura took these photographs?
I don't.
Do you know approximately when those were taken?
I'd say within the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Exhibit D then, a piece of paper marked Exhibit D entitled Notice of Appeal Hearing. Do you recognize Exhibit D?
Yes, I do.
What is Exhibit D?
It's a notice of the appeal hearing.
And,
That's notifying Ms. Steimer that there's going to be a hearing.
and that's what's occurring right now?
Yes.
Okay. And at the bottom of that page is a return of service. Do you recognize the signature of that person?
It says Officer 6.
Do you know who Anthony Whitmore is?
Yes,
Who is Anthony
he's
Whitmore?
Officer 6.
Okay. Fairbury police officer.
Yes,
Does this indicate that this was notice of appeal hearing was served on Ms. Thamer?
yes.
Okay.
Question?
Is there a reason why she wants to?
She'll tell us in just a moment, I'm sure.
The
I
purpose of
just
this?
have one question,
Go ahead.
if I might, Joe.
Yes,
And maybe I missed it and you covered it. When she had the fire had more than 50% damage to the property.
I believe so.
Well, then that would be covered under state statute too, would it not?
Mr. Martin?
The state statute for second-class cities, it gives authority for cities to define nuisances and to also approve a standard property code. Fairbury has passed your National Property Maintenance Code, and Section 110.1 of that code specifies that if in the judgment of the code official a building is so unsafe or dilapidated or it's beyond reasonable repair status, then it can be ordered to be demolished. Other statutes for other class cities refer to the 50% threshold, but the same judgment can be made by the code official for the city of Fairbury.
When was the fire?
I don't have that date in front of me either. Approximately 2 years ago.
Approximately 2 years ago. Okay. So it's been in this state for
2 years.
approximately 2 years.
Approximately. Ms. Steimer, do you wish to?
I took photographs of the property in question yesterday, and I had them developed today. And I would like the council, if they would, to take a look at them. Is that all right?
And just for the record, we'll probably mark these as a group as Exhibit E.
Thank you. Just pass them down, or
pass them,
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Now, if you will look at the structure, you can see that hardly anywhere near 50% burned on the roof. It's just a portion of the rear of the building, maybe accounting for 1/5 to 1/4. And the inside is comparable. Very little damage except in that area. Mr. Parker said that we discussed this house over the phone, and that is totally non-existent. I never have talked with him over the phone about this property whatsoever, not for 1 second. He either made it up or he has a very poor memory. I recently talked to, I acquired the property the 10th of January, 2012. That summer, spring, I contacted a contractor to give me an estimate on repairing the roof. He gave me that estimate, and we planned to fix it. He also said he was very busy that summer, and since I have bought several other properties, I had 2 people that wanted to rent one of the other houses. So since he was busy and he needed me to prepare the area, I began working on another house until he had time. So I'm very much involved and frankly way ahead of this. I've also noticed that, I also talked with one person who told me he didn't think I needed a building permit to fix that roof. And so I will contact more contractors to see if that is the case and see if one of them can do it. This person is on the city planning committee, and he told me a number of other contractors